Hi, my name is Sabrina Close, and I play Stephanie Lawrence in Black Rose, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Absolutely. So, I think at heart I'm a theater kid, and I often credit theater with saving my life. It brought me out of my shell. I was so shy I couldn't look people in the eye, and then I joined theater. Thought I play make-believe on the playground. I can do this on a stage, and I joined, and I did it. And everybody was shocked. Everybody and their mom was shocked. Everybody and my mom was shocked, So we ran with it, though, a little bit, and theater was forever a part of my life then. I went to college. I got a biology degree. I was pre-med, and now I'm a full-time med student, but I refused to, leave theater behind. And so, hopefully I get to do it for the rest of my life. This was my intro into film, which has been so, so cool. But yeah, I'm first and foremost a stage actor, and I just love it. Yeah, it's a lot, I think, bigger on a stage, to say the least. You see the Sutton Fosters making the transition to the stage, from stage to film, and you see that they make bigger movements than maybe some of the other actors, and so that was something that I was very aware of coming into this, and I didn't want to go too big, and it was hard to kind of get used to, okay, well, we're not going to go in order. We're not going to go from the start to the finish. We're going to go with this scene in the middle, right at the beginning, and then we're going to work our way through this story, right? And it's not told in order, not for us, not for the actors who are acting it. And so that transition was a little weird. I'm so used to running things start to finish, and so it almost felt unfinished for me some days, where I was like, well, hey, wait, that big scene is coming up, we didn't get there, but it worked out anyways, and I had so much fun. So, the transition has been hard, but good, and I feel like I've learned so much. The director told me, Joseph told me, that he loves working with stage actors because they always finish the take all the way through. They never just stop. They don't stop until you hear cut, I think that's probably a big one. We're not afraid to play. Stage actors aren't afraid to play. We get so much more time for rehearsal, and so I think that we like to try different things. And I think sometimes when you hit the screen, you only get so many takes, so you're afraid to change things up. And so I think maybe that's a little bit of a strength. I'm willing to play with the character a little bit, but I also know that at the same time, sometimes you need that take to be exactly the same. So it's just kind of figuring out what's appropriate one. Well, I would say that stage theater gets much more preparation time, right? You get cast, and then you know that you're going to have at least 5 days a week this carved out dedicated rehearsal time. With film, you don't get that. We sometimes we had a table read, and then we started filming, right? And so maybe our rehearsal was while we were getting dressed backstage. Hey, you want to run through the lines? Oh, I liked it when you did that. I liked it when you did that. And then everything changed when you hit the set, right? Because the director obviously knows exactly how he wants it. And so I think that was a challenge at times, and it does require more on-the-spot preparation, I would say, for the film aspect of it, because sometimes it's all the time you got. But if you've got a good cast, you've got a good group of characters with you, then that's all the time you need, Yeah, so my process kind of has been evolving, right? I'm taking classes at the Bright Star Acting Academy with Abby Ray Studios, and I've learned all these different techniques, right? And all of these different greats of theater give so many different methods, I guess. And I like to take what I can from each of them, and I guess every time I read it, I try something new. That's my preparation. I read through it, I try something new, I decide whether or not I like it. I try to bring myself a little bit to every role. I try to put myself in those characters' shoes, as much as I can. I would research, but this is a role that was different. I've lived this. I've been in high school, and so for this specific role, preparation for me looked like a lot of remembering how dumb I was back then, and all of the silly things that were so important to me then that are so not important to me now, but I had to remember how to make them my world. So it was just a lot of, emotional recall, I guess, to use a buzzword of the theater world. Yeah, so the casting process for myself is similar for several of my co-stars. I went to a casting call, a mixer, right, and I did this monologue and I totally butchered it. Oh my goodness, I said 3 different names where I was supposed to be talking about one guy, you know, and nobody noticed, thank God, and the director came and tapped me and said, hey, we would love for you to come out and audition for our film that we're going to be doing. Are you available tomorrow? And I said, yes, I am, and so I showed up and I auditioned, and it was a whirlwind almost. You know, I remember having so much nervous energy, and Amanda, who ended up being the makeup artist, was sitting behind the counter with all these cookies, and everyone was so nervous, and we wouldn't eat any. And you know, I walked in there and I gave it my best shot, and I remember walking out feeling really good, you know, feeling like I had given a performance that I was proud of, and I felt like maybe I made a little connection with the director and the writer of the film as well. And you know, I walked out and I got the call the next day, and hilariously with my co-stars, right, I live with, you know, 3 of them, and so they all got the calls too, and everybody was like kind of looking at each other like, hey, did anybody get any interesting phone calls lately or anything, you know? And then when we finally all shared the news, we just jumped for joy. I mean, how fun to be cast in a movie with your family almost, you know? And so that was kind of the process for me from start to finish. We showed up at the table read, and it was just so clear from the get-go that, you know, everybody was ready to work. They were ready to put this film on its feet and give it the message it's due. And yeah, so it was a great opportunity to, by happenstance, you know, work with my family and work with my new family, you know. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Backwards and Forwards by David Ball. It's a book I've had to read and I've chosen to read many, many times, and it really shows you how to attack a script. And I really subscribe to the idea of every action causes a reaction, and that reaction has to be the action for the next thing that's going to happen. And so reading this script, it was a very clear progression, and I really loved how easy it was to just follow the story all the way through. And you know, then I get to the big scene and my hand flew to my mouth, and I just couldn't even believe it, you know. That was the character I was going to play. That was the scene I was going to get to tackle, you know. It was exciting, it was scary, and reading this script, you know, it was a message that's so important and that affects so many people. I mean, I've lost people to suicide. I know so many people who have. And so reading this script was hard and exciting because I knew I'd get to tackle it, and I knew I'd get to spread that message as well. Absolutely, you know, so being a full-time med student, I came from school. I was learning about endocrinology that day, and then I moved on to OB-GYN, right, everybody's favorite topic, and then we switched gears, basically. I got home, I said, all right, I know what I need to do. I packed my go bag for this, I grabbed my stuff, we loaded it into my car, you know, and we show up to the set, and I'm terrified. Oh my goodness, I've never been in front of a camera like that. You know, I did a short film here and there in college, but I mean, I had no idea what was going on. This is the first time I learned you could cut takes together, right? And so it was a whirlwind of excitement and emotion, and you could tell that everybody was feeling each other out still because there were actors who didn't know each other. And you know, it was such a fun day. We had all of the extras there, and we had a big fight scene, and that was really fun, you know? And I mean, it was a rush. It was just such a rush and such a good experience. I'll never forget it. Yeah. I mean, the film itself has a difficult message, you know, and Stephanie is definitely a character with a lot to chew on, you know, to say the least. And you know, I thought that some of the harder scenes for me to do would be the ones where I would have to, you know, interact with Roger, you know, my stepfather. I thought that was going to be so hard for me, but really, I mean, and I don't think anyone's going to be shocked by it, it's the death scene. The death scene is the one. It's the hardest thing to do, I think, is to have to imagine how you're gonna look dying on a screen, right? But I had such an incredible cast and such an incredible crew there, and it was so very supportive and so very safe, you know, the director and everybody there really just put an emphasis on actor safety. And so I knew that I was safe, and I had some walls that the director had to work hard to break down, you know. I've got a lot of pride, and I don't like to cry, and I had to get there, you know, but it was a challenge, and I'm glad that I was challenged. So it was good. Yeah, so, I mean, I've had friends do special effects makeup on me before, you know, crazy stuff with like bones exposed, whatever. This one was different, you know, it's self-harm. It wasn't makeup per se that anybody would want to see on themselves, I guess, and it was something that was, you know, very emotional for me, having a lot of friends who did self-harm, you know, and so that was an experience. It helps you get into character a little bit, you know, watching the makeup go on and watching the scar putty settle, you know, it is an experience. It does help. I think that every element of reality that you can add to something like that really helps. And so that experience of putting the bruises on, of putting the scars on, you know, it really transformed me. It was the thing that ultimately at the end of the day helps you slip into character, I think, for me. Yeah, you know, I will say that to their credit, that water started warm, you know, and then we had take after take, and a lot of it was because I was just having such a hard time breaking that barrier and breaking that wall and crying, you know, and so maybe the cold helped a little bit, but it was overwhelming sometimes, and it was scary others, you know. There were moments where I really thought, we're not going to get this take. I'm not going to get there. But, you know, the director showed me some tough love that, you know, ultimately wasn't too tough, you know. To his credit, he did a great job, and he got me there. And I have to also say, to my co-star's credit, to Josh, you know, if it wasn't for the emotionality that I had on his face, I would have had nothing to work with, you know. And so it was so special getting to, I guess, experience that with my boyfriend, and so scary and so hard, you know. We ran lines many times leading up to that, and we had to stop, you know. There were moments where we had to stop. It was hard, but it also was safer knowing he was there, you know, and I would never change this experience for the world. Yeah, I mean, there are so many scenes that immediately come to mind. You know, I was able to do the montage scenes, right? So I got a lot of different locations, but I think that the day that continually comes up for me is the day we filmed at the park. The windy park with my hair everywhere. Oh my goodness, I could not do anything to keep that hair out of my face. You know, I think Josh fell into the lake at some point. You know, our boom mic is just precariously balanced over the pond, and where the ducks are squawking. I mean, it was just everything that could have possibly gone wrong. Every obstacle that we might have run into, we ran into that day. And you know, it was still fun. I mean, morale was still up. We were all laughing and smiling and having a good time. And you know, that scene still turned out so great. And I don't know how the director did it. I don't know how he got rid of that wind, but you don't hear it. And I mean, you see it. And I see every strand of hair that falls into my face. But I just laugh because that was such an incredible, crazy, all over the place day. And again, just one of my favorite moments. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody can relate to the teenage angst, right? And I would say that Stephanie was closed off, right? She was guarded. She didn't really let her walls down. And that is something I absolutely relate to. You know, emotions are something that I hide from sometimes. You know, I get them out on the stage. I think a lot of us actors do. And, you know, getting to play a character whose walls were up, they were firmly up, when we meet her at the top, you know, and getting to slowly break those walls down. It was interesting. It was something that didn't necessarily happen for me in high school, so it was something I got to try out and see how it would have felt. And it was an incredible experience, I guess, trying to figure out how Sabrina would have played that in high school, you know. But at the end of the day, it's Stephanie, and so it's whoever I want her to be. And I get to put myself in her shoes, and I get to be her. So I'd say I made Stephanie myself a little, but similarity-wise, I mean, my life was nothing like hers. Nothing. Think whatever, you know, it's a good thing. And I think her strength in the face of adversity is something that I aspire to. And, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, she loses her battle. That's something that I haven't done. I am proud to still be here. I am strong, you know, and I think that that's something that I just want to make sure everybody knows is an option. Oh, I learned so much from this. I learned everything from this. I mean, film experience aside, right, what I gained there, I mean, I learned how to trust myself, and I learned how to trust others through this process. You know, it's a scary thing to lay your soul bare, and this film challenged me to do that. And so, you know, I learned to trust. That's really the biggest one that I would take away from this. And I learned, you know, different people's processes through it. I don't know. I learned everything. I really feel like I learned everything in this film. It's a crash course in how to be a movie star, you know. Well, you know, I gotta say, school beats that out of you pretty quick sometimes. So, you know, that's kind of how I balance it. I'm a normal person, so is every actor out there, right? You still go home at the end of the day, you wash your hands, and you have to live life. And, you know, it's something I don't think about a lot. I think I might take it for granted at times, the fact that I am able to get up there and act and be a different person for those couple of hours or however long that it's demanded of me. And that's a privilege. That's something that is so exciting and so brings me so much joy, you know. And so I do my best not to let my head get too big. I think that every actor is their own worst critic, and that helps too. But at the end of the day, you know, I do my best to stay humble. Everybody's a person, you know, celebrity or otherwise. We're all people, and so I just try to remember that. Yeah, you know, it's funny because you'd think that the death scene would be the final scene of filming for me, right? But it wasn't. So it wasn't really a sad day, and I'm so grateful for that. It was a day where I got to pet bunnies, you know, and so we got to the end of it, and we all looked at each other and we hugged, and you know, Josh and I ended up getting dinner with the director Joseph and Amanda, the makeup artist, and we all just laughed and we reminisced and we remembered all of the different things that we did and we would have done differently and that went wrong and that went right, you know, and so it was a lot of emotion. It was a lot of excitement, I would say, too, of, all right, this is done, now when do we get to see it, you know? And we had to wait a little while to see it, but once it came out, oh, it was just so worth it. Yeah, I think it didn't hit me that I was in a film until I saw the poster. It wasn't until like the physical poster was being held in somebody's hands on some Instagram post, right? I mean, we were on their page every day, just like, okay, is it coming out yet? Is it coming out yet? When's the premiere? When's the premiere? You know, and it finally happened. And again, it was a jumping for joy moment, right? I mean, how could you not? This is finally happening, and who would have thought, who would have imagined that it would have been on a red carpet at an actual theater? You know, that was how I felt about it. For the longest time, I thought this film was going to be 30 minutes long. I just did. And so to find out that it was a feature, right? It wasn't a short film, it was a feature. And there's a red carpet, and there's a camera, and there's an interviewer. You have to go be there now. I mean, that was mind-blowing, you know? That's the stuff of movie stars. And so it was so weird, you know. I feel like I'm a civilian. I don't get to do that. I felt like I was privy to this little experience that I just fell into, you know. But it was such a rush. I mean, everybody was there and they looked amazing, and you know, it was just so great to finally see that film come to fruition and get to experience it with our families and our loved ones. Yeah, seeing my name up there was. My breath, I don't have the words, right? I mean, my breath was lost. I gasped. I kind of took a step back, you know, and people started clapping, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's my name, and people are clapping for it, you know, it's crazy. But, you know, I also joke now that I didn't see the movie on the day of the premiere. I had my family with me. You guys have seen it. It's not that happy of a movie. But, you know, so I just had to keep assuring them that I was okay, and it was so weird seeing myself up on the screen. I mean, I did have that moment of, that's me up there, you know, I'm on the big screen. And I didn't ever think that was something I was ever gonna say. And so it blew me away. It took my breath away. It left me speechless, and that's not something that I can often say. I love to talk, so, you know, it was great getting to watch that movie and hearing everybody cheer and react to it, you know. You put so much work into it. And to get that response is really what counts. It's really what matters at the end of the day. Yeah, that was surreal, I gotta say. You know, you walk out of a theater, you don't really expect people to come to you and talk to you, you know? My experience leaving theaters is I beeline for the door and I leave, you know? So walking out and being met with a barrage of people all wanting to give me hugs or get me to sign their posters, right? Take pictures with me even, which was a wild experience. I mean, it was overwhelming for a second, it was exciting for a second, it was surreal the entire time. You know, I couldn't believe it was happening. And you know, people said that I touched them, people complimented my performance, people cried, and it was just such a rewarding moment, honestly, to walk out and feel appreciated. Yeah. Realizing I didn't answer part of your earlier question, I'll just squeeze it in there. I think getting home at the end of the premiere, right? You take the makeup off, you take the earrings out, heels gone already. You sit there and you wonder when you knew, because I've been on the director side of a stage, right? And I've been on a stage, and with every process, I think I knew that there was a moment where I could sit back and I could go, wow, hey, we could actually do this. This might actually be something good. And I know that I had that moment in Black Rose, I think the day we wrapped, you know, of just this like, moment. And I said, hey, this could actually be something. So my question to the crew, to the producers, to the writer, the director, everybody back there is, when did you know? You know, did you have that moment? Did you have that, hey, we've made something important here? And what was it, you know? Got some dogs. I'd say that Stephanie is a very strong character, and in a lot of ways, that's something to be admired. You know, she fights. She puts up a good fight in the face of adversity. I mean, from her home life to her school life, right? She has challenges, and I mean, I get it. I think that some of us can relate more so to some parts of her story than others, and she lost her battle, you know? You don't have to. Nobody has to. And you're not alone. You know, if you take nothing else from this movie, from this story, you're not alone. And, you know, just wait. Just wait. It gets better. It does. It always does, you know? As cliche as it is, there is a life, there is a world after high school where you get to be you and explore, right? I mean, I can't imagine that things look so easy when you're in them. It's really hard to see it. But once you get out, once you get some perspective, you'll see it's worth it. So fight that good fight and keep fighting. You know, stay strong. It's necessary. I mean, you matter. You matter. All right, well, thanks so much for having me. This has been an incredible experience. You can find me on Instagram at Third Accounts the Charm, not the first, not the second, but the Third Accounts the Charm. It was deleted twice, don't ask me why. But thank you so much again for having me, and please go watch Black Rose on Amazon. Let me know what you think. Have a good one, bye.